Welcome to the deep dive. So, the sources we've been looking at this week, they're painting a really stark picture.
They really are.
We're not talking about a recession. The term our sources are using is an extinction event, specifically for, the white-collar middle class.
That's it, exactly. And the mission for this deep dive, it feels urgent. We have to understand what's happening right now with AI displacement. And to do that, we're going to use a historical blueprint, the 1811 Luddite Rebellion.
Because it's not just a vague warning from the past.
Not at all. It's an almost perfect template. It shows us who wins these revolutions, who loses, and, the mechanics of exactly why.
And the most chilling part is the speed. Let's start with the hard data, the warning that really forced this conversation. December 2025, the CEO of Anthropic.
The company behind Claude AI.
Right. He testifies before Congress, and the number he gives it's the siren call.
He warned them that half of all entry-level white-collar jobs are going to vanish by 2027. Half. We're talking about jobs that need a college degree, foundational roles. And that's, less than 18 months from right now.
And we have to be so clear here. This is not the 90s. This isn't jobs moving from Ohio to Bangalore.
No, this is not a labor arbitrage play. This is replacement. Pure digital replacement by a system that might cost an employer $20 a month?
It's just brutal math for a CFO, isn't it?
It's completely predetermined. You have a job that 6 months ago needed a 4-year degree, maybe a $70,000 salary, plus benefits.
Yeah.
And now an LLM can do it. The marginal cost is basically nothing. When you're facing a 99% cost reduction for the same output, the choice is already made.
And the targets are so specific. We're not talking about some vague future jobs.
No. The list is the core of the modern office. Accountants doing reconciliation, entry-level financial analysts, customer service reps,
paralegals, HR coordinators, copywriters.
Exactly. These are the engines of the knowledge economy. And those engines are, they're sputtering out.
The speed is the real shock, though. We had all that foundational research, but it's already out of date.
Completely. I mean, you look at Goldman Sachs back in March 2023, they said generative AI could expose 300 million jobs globally.
And McKinsey said maybe 30% of hours worked in the U.S. could be automated by 2030.
Right, by 2030. The critical thing to understand now is that the timeline has collapsed. What was a 2030 prediction is the reality of 2026.
And we're not waiting for it to start. It's already happening. We have concrete examples.
Look at IBM. They cut 700-800 jobs in 2023. And the CEO, Arvind Krishna, he was explicit about it. He said AI will replacing back office functions.
Payroll, contracts, all that stuff.
Yes. It's not soft language, it's a direct admission. Or Duolingo. They replaced 10% of their contractors with GPT-4 late in 2023. This is happening now.
And there's this corporate language, this dirty secret, as our sources call it, a kind of translation key.
The key phrase you have to listen for is AI-driven efficiency. In Q3 2025 earnings calls, that phrase showed up in almost half of the S&P 500 transcripts.
And efficiency is just code for
cutting headcount. It's a signal to Wall Street that they've found a cheaper way to operate. And that checker way means fewer people on the payroll.
There's even a direct correlation, isn't there, between investment and displacement?
It's chillingly precise. For every $1 billion invested in AI infrastructure, so buying chips, building data centers, it corresponds to an average reduction of 3,200 white-collar jobs within about 18 months.
Wow, so it's a feedback loop.
It's the ultimate feedback loop. Investment fuels deployment. Deployment gets you efficiency, which means displacement. That frees up cash, which goes right back into more AI infrastructure. It's a cycle that just accelerates itself.
Okay, so let's dig into that, the current landscape. The question that, for me, kind of defies history is why office workers, why people with degrees? We always thought automation would hit the factory floor first.
And that's the unsettling part everyone needs to grasp. The jobs going first aren't the low-skill manual jobs. A robot still struggles with the messy physical world. It's the middle-skill jobs, the ones that, required a degree to get in the door, proving you could handle complex information. But at the end of the day, the work is processing digital information, applying templates, summarizing things.
The very things AI is great at.
Exactly. A robot can't easily pick up a drop bolt, but an LLM can read 1,000 legal documents and find the key clauses in seconds. The big economic return is in automating that digital middle layer.
Okay, let's get specific on the risk. High-risk jobs first. We're talking 80% or more displacement by 2027. These are the jobs on the chopping block right now.
You start with bookkeepers and accounting clerks. AI tools are now hitting 99.2% accuracy on reconciliation, invoices, statements. It's just faster and cheaper.
So the human gets pushed up to a purely audit role.
Exactly. And you don't need dozens of people for that.
Yeah.
Data entry specialists they're already obsolete. Between OCR and automated data cleaning, that role is gone.
Travel agents are on that list too.
Yeah, unless you're a high-end specialist for complex multi-country trips, the AI booking engines are just better and faster.
And paralegals. This example is just staggering.
It really is.
Yeah.
Legal research. It's a cornerstone of that job. Used to take maybe 40 hours of work for a big project.
Yeah.
With tools like Harvey AI, it now takes 4 minutes.
40 hours down to 4 minutes.
It's not a 10% gain. It's a 99% collapse in required labor. So you have to ask, how many paralegals does a law firm need to hire next year?
The answer is pretty close to 0.
And then you have customer service reps. Massively high risk. Chatbots are already handling over 70% of inquiries without needing a human.
And the voice tech is getting so good.
It's indistinguishable. So telemarketers, sales development reps, they're being replaced by AI voice agents that don't sleep, don't need a commission, and never get discouraged. The economic case is airtight.
Okay, let's move to the medium risk category. 40 to 70% displacement. The moat here is shrinking fast.
Financial analysts are a perfect example. The high-level strategic stuff, the gut calls, the political navigation, that's still human for now. But the junior analyst work, building the models, forecasting earnings, writing the first draft of a memo that's being automated, the AI generates the raw output, and the human just reviews it.
The value is all migrating upward.
It is. We're seeing the same thing with copywriters and content marketers. GPT-4 can churn out competent blog posts and ad copy at a massive scale.
So if you're just a competent writer,
You're competing with an AI that's competent 24/7 for a fraction of the cost. The bar for being truly exceptional and therefore indispensable has just been raised through the roof.
translators are in this zone too, and then the really controversial one, radiologists.
Yeah, the AI diagnostic tools, especially for image recognition, are already better than humans in some controlled studies at spotting cancers early. The regulations will slow it down, but the technology is there, the pressure is building.
Okay, so what's safe? The low-risk jobs, under 20% displacement. This is where the physical world seems to fight back.
And this is so crucial for anyone thinking about a pivot or a survival strategy. We're talking about the skilled trades.
Plumbers, electricians, HVAC techs.
Exactly. These jobs are about dealing with the messy middle. Unpredictable three-dimensional problems in tight spaces. AI can process data, but it can't snake a drain in a dark, cramped basement.
The return on investment for a robot that can do that is just not there yet.
Not even close.
Yeah.
The ROI on digital AI is instantaneous. The ROI on physical robotics is still years, maybe decades away for these complex tasks.
And what about the knowledge jobs that are safe?
They're safe at the very top. The senior executives, their job isn't raw analysis, it's politics, it's managing stakeholders, it's making huge bets with incomplete data.
Human stuff.
Purely human stuff. And then you have the roles that are fundamentally about emotional labor. Therapists, caregivers, and AI can track your mood, sure, but it can't build trust or provide genuine human empathy.
The creative visionaries too.
The creative director, the high-level designer. Their vision is the unique value, the execution, the rendering, the modeling. That can all be automated, but the core idea, the vision, remains human.
One of the things that stands out here is how all this is being masked. This idea of the attrition deception.
This is a really critical point. Companies aren't doing massive headline-grabbing layoffs. That's bad PR.
So they're using natural attrition.
Exactly. Your colleague quits or retires, and their job just disappears. The position is never reposted. The existing team just absorbs the work, using these new AI tools to handle the extra load.
It's a quiet, permanent elimination of a job.
A silent shrinking of the white-collar workforce.
Yeah.
We have the data. In the financial sector, between early 2024 and late 2025, headcount fell by 6.7%.
Okay.
But official layoffs only accounted for 2.1% of that. The rest, that 4.6%, gone. Vanished through attrition. It creates this false sense of security while the floor is falling out.
It's like letting a hole in the ship get bigger and bigger without telling anyone. To really get this, though, we need that historical blueprint. We have to go back to the Luddites.
That's right. The data today shows us the how. The history shows us the outcome.
So let's set the stage. England, late 1700s, before the factories. What was life like for a skilled worker then?
It revolved around the cottage industry. These were skilled artisans, true craftsmen, Handloom weavers, framework knitters.
They worked from home.
From home, often with their own looms, which were expensive pieces of equipment. They controlled their own time, their own quality, and they set their own prices. They were the middle class of their day.
Independent entrepreneurs, really.
Absolutely. They had dignity, autonomy. A skilled weaver in the 1780s could earn about 25 shillings a week. We ran the numbers. That's like making $72,000 a year today. They were stable. They were secure.
And then the technology arrived.
It was a wave. First the spinning jenny in 1764, letting one person do the work of 8. But the real killer app was Richard Arkwright's water frame in 1769.
Why was that one so different?
Because it produced stronger thread, and crucially, you didn't need a skilled adult to run it. You could use unskilled women and children. It de-skilled the labor.
And then the power loom in 1785 automated the weaving itself.
But Arkwright's true genius wasn't just the machine. It was the system, the factory. His Cromford Mill, opened in 1771, ran 24 hours a day with 200 workers. Its centralized production. It was the industrial cloud server of its time.
And the economic math for the weaver was just brutal.
It's night and day. A master weaver makes maybe 20 yards of cloth a week for his 25 shillings. An unskilled child at a power loom makes 60 yards for just 6 shillings.
4 times the output at a fifth of the labor cost.
You can't compete with that.
But the collapse wasn't immediate. This is the really insightful parallel for today. For a little while, the weavers thought the machines were helping them.
They did. And this is the lesson about augmentation. Between 1790 and 1795, weavers' wages actually went up. Because the first factories were just making so much thread, there was a temporary boom in demand for skilled weavers to do the high-quality finishing work. They saw the machines as a tool that was creating more business for them. They felt safe.
Just like the analyst today who thinks GPT-4 is just helping them write memos faster.
It's the exact same logic. A temporary productivity boost that completely masks the existential threat. Once the power loom scaled up and the factories started doing the weaving themselves, the demand for skilled weavers just evaporated.
And the wages collapsed.
By 1800, wages fell from 25 shillings to 14. By 1820, it was 7. By 1830, they hit 5 shillings. A 75% collapse in 30 years. The skill they had spent a lifetime acquiring was now economically worthless.
And that's what triggered the rebellion.
The Luddites weren't anti-technology fanatics. They were rational people watching their entire way of life, their security, their dignity, being destroyed by an economic force they couldn't control.
So tell us about the rebellion. How organized was it?
It was highly organized. It started March 11th, 1811. Masked men smashed 63 machines and signed a notice from a mythical figure, Ned Ludd, to unify the cause.
And they were strategic. This wasn't random smashing.
Not at all. They operated in secret cells, used coded letters, took oaths of secrecy, and they're very specific about their targets. They destroyed the new wide frames and gig mills that directly displaced skilled workers. They deliberately avoided the machines that just assisted skilled workers.
They were fighting for their economic survival, not against progress itself.
Their demands were reasonable. Fair wages, some restrictions on the machines, and apprenticeship rules to maintain quality. They were trying to manage the transition, not stop it.
But the government saw it differently.
The government saw it as a threat to the entire economic future of the nation. The response was overwhelming military force. By 1812, there were 12,000 British troops fighting the Luddites.
12,000?
To put that in perspective, that's more soldiers than Wellington had fighting Napoleon in Spain at the same time. The domestic threat to capital was considered more important than the foreign war.
And they backed it up with law.
The Frame-Breaking Act of 1812 made destroying a machine a capital offense, punishable by death. It was the state siding with extreme violence, with capital over labor.
And that was the end.
It was crushed. In January 1813, 17 men were publicly hanged in York. The rebellion was over. They lost.
They lost. And now we have to track what happened next. The generational outcomes. Let's start with the winners, the factory owners.
The winners built dynasties. Let's go back to Richard Arkwright. He died in 1792 with an estate worth £500,000. That's about $450 million today.
An incredible fortune. But the real story is what happened in the next generation.
Exactly. His son, Richard Arkwright Jr., inherited that capital. And he did what capitalists do. He diversified. He bought real estate. He invested in the new railways. He got into banking. The fortune wasn't spent. It was compounded.
So by 1850,
the family fortune was over £2 million. That's almost $1.9 billion today. It was exponential growth. And the family was absorbed into the aristocracy, knighted, married into nobility, went to Oxford.
And this was the pattern for all the industrialists.
The peels and textiles produced prime ministers. The Wedgwoods in pottery produced Charles Darwin's family. The mechanism was simple. They owned the machines. Factory gross margins were around 60%. The handloom weaver was lucky to get 20%, so the wealth of the entire nation consolidated upwards. The top 1% went from owning 25% of the wealth to 35% in just 50 years.
Okay, now the other side. The workers. What happened to the displaced middle class?
Poverty, disease, and early death. They were forced into these new, horrible urban slums in cities like Manchester.
The life expectancy number is just... It's hard to believe.
It's grim. Life expectancy for a textile worker in Manchester in 1840 was 38 years old.
38.
Compared to 52 for a farm worker out in the country.
Right.
The industrial city was a death trap. 12 people to a room, open sewage in the streets. This wasn't a temporary setback. It was a permanent slide into an underclass.
And their population just collapsed.
The handloom weaver population dropped by 80%, from 250,000 people to just 50,000 by 1850.
And those who were left were earning starvation wages.
We have the documents from a parliamentary commission in 1833. A family's weekly earnings were 5 shillings and 6 pence. Their weekly expenses for rent, bread, potatoes, and coal. Also 5 shillings and 6 pence.
Zero surplus.
Zero. No margin for error. No ability to save. No money for a doctor. Nothing.
And if you failed, if you got sick, the workhouse.
The ultimate indignity. The 1834 Poor Law forced you into a workhouse. Families were separated. You worked 12 hours a day breaking rocks for watery gruel. It was a prison for the poor.
And the displaced weavers, the skilled 45-year-old guys, the factories didn't even want them.
No, they wanted young, compliant, cheap workers. By 1838, almost 3/4 of Manchester factory workers were under 25. The older weaver was seen as too slow, too independent, too proud. He was unemployable.
So they just eroded away.
That's the perfect word. They died from a decade of declining wages, malnutrition, and disease. That's what happens when labor loses.
Yeah.
The owners built a dynasty. The sellers of labor were eliminated as a class.
So we have the blueprint. Now let's map it step by step onto today. The 4 phases of displacement.
It's the same pattern, just accelerated. Phase 1. The new technology emerges. In the 1780s, it's the power loom. The weavers say, a machine can't replicate my quality.
2022 to 2024, it's large language models. The white-collar worker says, AI can't replicate my creativity or my judgment.
Phase 2. Early adoption. 1770s to 1790s, Arkwright builds the first factories. Wages for weavers actually go up for a bit. They think the machine is a tool that's helping them.
2023 to 2024, tech firms adopt AI. The analyst or copywriter sees it as a force multiplier. They think they're managing the tool.
Which brings us to right now. Phase 3. Mass adoption and wage collapse. 1800 to 1815, factories scale up, weaver wages collapse by half, and the Luddites start smashing machines.
2025 to 2027, AI goes enterprise-wide. Companies realize replacement is cheaper than augmentation. Wages stagnate and fall through attrition, and the modern frame breaking is writing op-eds demanding Senate hearings.
And it leads to Phase 4, consolidation of wealth. 1820 to 1850, the factory owners become the new ruling class. The workers are locked into a permanent underclass.
And the prediction for 2027 to 2040 is the AI infrastructure owners capture all the gains.
Right, but here's the critical difference that makes today so much more dangerous. Speed and options.
The Luddite displacement took 40 years.
40 years. A weaver had time, theoretically, to pivot to another manual job. Mining, construction, working on the docks.
But today, the transition from AI experiment to full replacement is happening in, 18-month cycles?
It's happening in quarters, not decades. And the displaced financial analysts today, where do they go? Manufacturing is already automated. The labor market is splitting into a top 10% of high creativity roles and a bottom 50% of low-wage gig economy work. The middle is just vanishing.
And there's no stopping it because the economics are just too compelling.
It's unstoppable. A mid-level analyst costs a company all in about $150,000 a year. The AI that replaces them costs maybe $5,000 a year.
That's a 97% cost reduction.
With an 18-day payback period, no CFO can say no to that. If your competitor does it, you have to do it, or your company dies. The competitive pressure makes it mandatory.
So, who are the modern Arkwrights? Who owns the machines today?
It's the AI infrastructure owners, the companies that control the means of digital production.
Let's name them. Let's talk about the scale of this concentration.
You have to start with NVIDIA. NVIDIA, their market cap is around $3 trillion. They have a 90% market share on the GPUs, the chips that train these AI models.
They're the ones selling the shovels in the gold rush.
They're selling the shovels, the pickaxes, and they own the mine. Then you have Microsoft, MSFT, at over $3 trillion. They own the Azure cloud and the OpenAI infrastructure. Alphabet, GOGL at $2 trillion with DeepMind. Meta at $1.4 trillion.
Just those four. That's a combined market cap of $9.5 trillion.
More than the GDP of every country on Earth except for the US and China.
And that wealth flows to the individuals, the CEOs.
Since 2022, the personal wealth of people like Jensen Huang at NVIDIA or Satya Nadella at Microsoft has grown by 300 to 500%.
And they didn't work 500% harder.
No, they own the asset that replaced the labor. They captured the value from the displacement. If you owned NVIDIA stock since January 2023, you're up almost 800%. If you were a customer service rep, you're now obsolete.
Capital wins, labor loses.
So the question we have to stop asking is, will AI take my job? That's the Luddite question. The question we must ask is the industrialist question. Am I positioned to profit from this displacement, or am I the one being displaced?
Okay, this is the pivot. Let's get into the actionable framework. Knowledge is useless without a plan. Our sources lay out 3 fundamental choices you can make right now.
Option 1 is to stay in labor. This is the upskill path. Learn prompt engineering, master the AI tools, become an expert user. But the long-term survival probability here is, it's low, maybe 15%.
Wait, that feels counterintuitive. If I use AI to become 300% more productive, why wouldn't my employer want to keep me?
That's the augmentation trap. You become 300% more productive, but your salary goes up maybe 8%. The employer captures the other 292% of that value. And eventually they figure out that the tool itself, managed by someone much cheaper, can get 80% of your output for 5% of your cost.
So upskilling just buys you a little bit of time.
It buys you time. You're delaying the inevitable. Only the absolute top 10% of performers, the true strategists and creatives, will survive long-term in this lane.
Okay, so that's option 1. Option 2. Pivot to scarce skills.
This is the move to the physical world. Retrain as a plumber, an electrician, an elder care worker. These are often 18-month certification programs. The survival probability here is much higher, maybe 60%.
You get job security.
You get job security today, yes. But you're capping your income potential, probably somewhere between $55,000 and $100,000 a year. And you're just kicking the can down the road. You're safe from AI, but you're vulnerable to the next wave, which is advanced robotics in, 2035 or 2045.
You're solving today's problem, but setting yourself up for the next one.
Right. You're still selling your linear hours for a living.
Which brings us to option 3. Become a capital owner. The Arkwright option.
Survival probability, 80%. Stop selling labor, start owning the tools that replace labor. This is the only path that structurally benefits from what's happening.
Now, I have to challenge you here. For the listener facing displacement, this sounds cynical. Are we telling people to profit from their friends and neighbors losing their jobs?
It's a deeply uncomfortable but necessary question. The Luddites were morally right. The machines destroyed their lives, and it was unjust. But they suffered anyway. The market doesn't care about morality, it cares about efficiency.
So this is about pragmatism.
It's about survival. The only way to protect yourself from the economic instability this is creating is to own a piece of the machine that's creating it. Your passive income from capital has to rise faster than your labor income is falling. It's self-preservation against an unstoppable force.
Okay, so if you're going to become a capital owner, where do you focus?
On the infrastructure. The picks and shovels. Don't bet on which specific AI app will win. Bet on the things everyone needs. That means chips, so NVIDIA and ASML. It means cloud, so Microsoft. It means networking hardware, so Broadcom. And it means the physical data centers themselves, a company like Brookfield Infrastructure Partners.
You're buying the steel and the railways, not betting on one specific textile company.
Exactly. You want your wealth to grow exponentially through equity, not linearly through a paycheck.
Let's make this super actionable now. Let's break it down by profile. Profile 1, the at-risk white-collar worker. Earning $60,000 to $150,000, you know you're in the crosshairs.
This is the most urgent case. Step 1 for the next 3 months is financial triage. Reduce all your fixed expenses. Your goal is to build a runway of 12 to 18 months of liquid savings. This isn't pessimism, it's a parachute.
Step 2 is to start allocating capital.
Yes, within 3 to 12 months, open a brokerage account. You need to be systematically, automatically investing 20 to 30% of your income. For a conservative allocation, we'd suggest 40% in a broad market index like VOO, 30% in those core AI infrastructure stocks, 20% international, and 10% cash.
And for someone willing to be more aggressive,
Then you lean in, 60% directly in AI infrastructure stocks, 20% in a semiconductor ETF like SMH to bet on the whole chip sector, and 20% in a cloud computing ETF like CLOU. The key is to do it systematically. Don't try to time the market.
And step 3 is building options.
For the next 1 to 2 years, you run 2 tracks. Track A. Become the master of the AI tools in your field. Become the person who manages the AI, not the person replaced by it. Track B. Start researching those scarce physical skills. Take a night class in welding or HVAC repair. Build a parachute career.
So you have savings for runway, a growing portfolio that benefits from the displacement, and a fallback skill.
That's the plan. Now for Profile 2, the high earner. Making over $200K, their goal is wealth preservation.
Step 1 for them is to rebalance their portfolio.
If you're a high earner sitting on a lot of cash or bonds, you are positioned incorrectly. You need to be heavily in equities, probably 50-60% weighted toward AI and tech.
And step 2 is to build passive income.
This is about decoupling your lifestyle from your job. Your senior role is safer, but not permanently safe. You could build a dividend portfolio that generates $30,000 to $50,000 a year, or buy 4 rental properties that cash flow $8,000 to $12,000 a month. When your passive income covers half your expenses, losing your job is an inconvenience, not a catastrophe.
And finally, Profile 3, the already wealthy, 2 million plus net worth. Their focus shifts to generational wealth and systemic risk.
Step 1 is structural diversification. Get your assets out of just one country. A good target is 60% US, 25% developed international, 15% emerging markets.
Step 2 is the Arkwright playbook, dynastic structuring.
Using trust and family LLCs to make sure that wealth compounds across generations without being eaten by taxes. And the most important part is teaching your children to think like capital owners, not like job seekers.
And step 3 is hedging against the instability all of this will create.
Right. When the middle class disappears, you get political volatility. That means wealth taxes, capital controls. You hedge that by owning hard physical assets that are hard to confiscate. Physical gold stored internationally, foreign residency, farmland, timberland.
So this whole framework is built on the idea that you can't stop this. You can only position yourself correctly within it.
Because the ultimate lesson from the Luddites is the most brutal one. They were morally right. The machines did destroy their lives, and everything they feared came true. But the market didn't care. Economics only cares about what works.
And what has worked for 213 years is unchanging. Capital beats labor. Ownership beats employment. Assets beat wages.
The gap between the 8-10% annual return on capital and the 2-3% annual growth in wages over 200 years, that small gap compounds into the unbridgeable chasm we see today.
So the question for you, for everyone listening, isn't about fairness. It's about which historical role you are preparing to play.
Are you the weaver, arguing with the machine until you have nothing left? Or are you the industrialist who says, I will own a piece of that machine and I will build something that lasts?
You have a window, maybe 18 to 24 months before this accelerates beyond the point of no return. The mission is not to stop it. It's to position yourself correctly.
The lesson from 213 years ago is the most important thing you can know today. Own the tools. Don't be the tool.
And as you start working on your framework, we have to leave you with the deeper societal question here. If the middle class, the political shock absorber, vanishes, and you're left with a tiny class of owners and a massive class of low-wage laborers, what happens to society? What political concessions, like a universal basic income, become necessary to stop the system from just collapsing entirely? History shows the workers always suffer first, but eventually the system has to react to survive. What will that reaction look like this time?